So, child poverty in 2025 in the UK that Charles Dickens would have recognised. The Children's Commissioner for England, Dame Rachel De Souza, says that the government simply has to scrap the two-child benefit cap, which campaigners like her says is pushing around 100 children into poverty every single day.
Comes as a new report from the Commissioner, shares accounts of children living in mouldy, rat-infested homes, unable to afford breakfast or even a bed in which to sleep. Before we speak to her, let's hear the experiences of some of those children in her report.
Every time I got food packages, the food was always out of date and mouldy. I know I'm poor, but I'm not going to eat mouldy food.
Our kitchen has holes that rats come through at night. They bite through our walls.
The shower and bath don't always work, or there isn't enough water to shower, so we go to school not clean.
Well, that's personal testimony from those children voiced by actors. The Children's Commissioner for England, Dame Rachel De Souza, as you can see, joins us now. Good morning, Dame Rachel.
Morning.
Thank you for spending some time with us. Now, you are using very powerful language here, there's no doubt about that, because the way that Charles Dickens wrote about child poverty in the UK in Victorian times was shocking then, let alone now. Now, is it really that bad? Is it really that Victorian? Or are you kind of legitimately exaggerating a little to make a valid point?
So I absolutely am not exaggerating. So the government has asked me to bring children's views to their Poverty Commission. I'm pleased that they're looking at it and trying to do something about this. And in the 4 years I've been Children's Commissioner, what I saw when I went out to get children's views this time was so much worse. It's got so much worse. I saw things I never thought I'd see in one of the richest countries in the world. Children talking to me about the shame, because they don't talk about the word poverty. They talk about what their life experience is. So talking about the shame of not being able to invite friends around because a rat came and bit my face in the night and we've got rats. Children in mouldy homes. Children, one boy talking to me, an 8-year-old, about my bed's so small I have to sleep in a curled up position. Now, if you just look at the hard data, we've got over 1 million more children in what we'd call poverty in receipt of free school meals. That means their parents are on universal credit and earning £7,000 a year or less a year. And then we have those children who are in absolute destitution, and that's estimated at about 1 million. Now, I think there's lots that we can do about it and lots that we must do, because these children are optimistic and hopeful for their own futures. Right, we've got to match their ambition.
Just before we come on to what you would propose to be the solutions, including abolishing the two-child benefit cap, I just want to labour the point a bit more about the conditions that you've discovered. Supposing you were able to have a meeting with Charles Dickens today and give him material, some notes that he could use to write another chapter about child poverty. Give us more examples of the kind of conditions that we're talking about.
So I talk about children whose families can't afford to put heating on. So new babies just come home, there's no heating in the house. Children with mould up the walls, and then they're getting ill from it, and then they're moved out by their housing association. They come back in and the mould hasn't been sorted out and they're still ill from it. Children who out in their front park, the place they'd go to play, it's full of syringes, it's full of violence, it's full of criminals. I've got one girl talking to me about, I walk home, can't afford a bus fare, so I walk home, takes 90 minutes, I'm terrified. There's often not street lighting, there's criminals around, and I'm trying to go to school every day and I'm not safe. Children whose families can't afford to wash their clothes, so they're having to go into school smelling and dirty. And if the school is, lots of schools try and do good things and wash those clothes, but and then absolute food insecurity. So we've got about 7% of the people of food bank users are families with 7% of these families are using food banks, and they are families with children, far more than families without children. So genuine food insecurity. I was shocked. I have always just tried to really not be someone who's kept this and just listen to children. And over 4 years, it really has got a lot worse. So I'm deeply concerned about it.
A number of these problems obviously relate to housing. And local authorities not properly looking after the families in their care, housing associations, private landlords, presumably, as well. I mean, a lot of this presumably could be fixed without the government having to step in?
Absolutely, Susanna. So, look, I think there are two different things. There's the big structural reform things like the two-child limit, but there's a huge amount that could be done locally and done by those who actually are being funded to do it. So, you know, that's things like, you know, we know with temporary housing, if a child, the more times a child moves, the worse their GCSE outcomes are. You know, if you're moved 13 or 14 times, you've got no hope. You've got children who've been moved to temporary accommodation after temporary accommodation. And it just shouldn't be happening. We should just simply say to local authorities, don't move families. You know, you shouldn't move families with children.
Yeah, because I think obviously there'll be people watching who think, you know, does this mean we know what the strain that budgets are under?
Yeah.
Does this always take more public money? But I think what you're identifying is things can be done within the budget already. But there is a big measure you are asking for, and we've referred to it a few times, and that is lifting the cap on certain benefits that families are entitled to. And currently, they're not entitled to these benefits after the second child. How many children do you think this could lift out of poverty? And do you see any families restricting the number of children they have to just 2 because of this ban on them claiming benefits for more?
No, so look, you in terms of being on universal credit, I don't think the majority of people plan for that to happen. You've got lots of people trying to work hard but not getting paid very much. Now, the two-child limit, basically, if we ban the two-child limit, you would lift about 500,000 children out of poverty immediately. It's the most efficient way of doing it. I'm a third child. I think it's deeply unfair that if you're the third, you know, that's it. There's nothing for you. I mean, it's the most simple, efficient way of helping child poverty. I do not see family. You know, a lot of the narrative is around, you know, people having children to do this. Oh my goodness, that is not the case. You know, if you're widowed, if you can only find low-paid work, there are all sorts of reasons why you might need to rely on universal credit. And actually, why should we be making the child, you know, we're one of the richest countries in the world. We shouldn't be making children suffer. We shouldn't have, you know, children, you know, unable to eat, unable to have heating, putting their health at risk. The long-term effect of that is huge. Well, so I would get rid of the two-child limit. But there's, as you say, there's a whole lot of other things that we could do as well. Like, for instance, if you look in Manchester, children get free bus fares because Manchester have decided to do that. That would be such a simple thing that children call for, you know, so I can get home safely, so I can get to school. And that is within council's gift to do. All
right, Dame Rachel, you talk about long-term effects, and I do want to ask you about that. How much of these, I mean, obviously these children are in a living nightmare in the circumstances that you've so vividly described. How does it blight their future as they move through adolescence and into young adulthood? How does it affect their lives?
So, look, these children are ambitious. I've never yet met a child, and I see children everywhere, in prisons, everywhere around the country. I've never yet met a child who's like got no interest in their future. These particular children in poverty are not other things. They're the children of our country. They're ambitious. They want good futures. They want to do well at school. What we know is multiple moves, because you're in insecure housing, massively affects your GCSE outcomes. I've done that study. I've shown the correlation. So immediately, you're not going to get the opportunities that you so desperately want. But also, illness from mouldy, horrible housing is like, we're becoming more and more aware of it. It's an absolute reality. Living with vermin, living with mould is going to affect your health, and it's going to affect your health in a lifelong way. What I see children just not growing, you know, physically tall enough. That is Dickensian, you know, who are smaller than their peers because they're living in poverty. It's hard to believe that this is our country, one of the richest countries in the world. And these are children without a voice. That's why I'm here today, to try to give you their voice, so that actually we realise childhood has a short time. We need to do something about it, because the health and education, there's only a few years to do it, and we need to get it right.
Thank you very much.
Rachel, you speak incredibly powerfully for your constituency, which is children. Good luck. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.